Alright, tell me when to start talking, okay?
Let me see how that looks.
This is alright, it's not that bad actually. The video is coming quite good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Should we start?
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hello everyone.
This is... Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'll start. Okay. It always happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm Sudhir and this is my lovely husband Jethro, and today is Valentine's Day. This is
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. This is our first Valentine's Day after being married. We live in Western Sydney, Australia, and tonight we wanted to talk about how growing in two different worlds have affected and changed our lives, and how living with people from a different cultural, linguistic and socio-economic background has changed our perception about life, love, each other and ourselves as well.
Yes. In this video, we'll be comparing our experiences growing up in incredibly similar and yet different situations, all of which shaped us in a way that surprisingly fit us together perfectly, as if we were soulmates.
When I was very young, I was 7 months old, my father passed away, so I never really saw my father. My father was 30 years old and my mother was 22 years old when my mother got widowed, and because of the cultural foundations and social background, she wasn't allowed to remarry again.
So, in comparing that to myself, my parents separated when I was just over 1 year old. And I hardly saw my mother growing up. It was this absence of family because it was just me and dad basically my whole life. Until he got a girlfriend when I was about, young, I don't know how old, So for a long time it was just us, and I didn't know who was my family. I don't know who my mother is. There was always this big gap inside of me. So from 2008 I started actively researching my family history. Because I really wanted to know, who are we actually related to and things. While you never really had that wonder, because you knew who your father was. There was pictures in the house and lots of family around, your neighbours and things like that, were your father's brothers and things. Yeah, I had a lot of absence in me that made me want to research family history, and I've learned so much actually. It's been a really cool journey.
So it turns out sometimes bad things can make you do really great things in life, and it can help you find your motive.
Definitely. Yes.
So, when I was only 2 years old, in 1999, when I was 2 turning 3, my mother got me admission in school, and where my brother and sister were already studying. When I went to school, I saw a few more people around me. I tried to make friends. I didn't make many friends, but if you follow instructions from teachers, you get stars on the copy. As a kid, that was a really big thing for me. Everybody would look at you if you get a gold star in your book and you were doing great in the studies and everything. So I became more academically inclined because I started on an early age in the school.
Within schools, I was bullied so much that I found it to be more safe actually to be by myself. Reading, drawing. I was very imaginative as a child as well, because I fully believed in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy.
Anything that makes you happy,
And I was told that these were true. So I was like, wow, these amazing magical things. This is what made me love life when I was a child. And for you, it was the same with religion. You had a lot of amazing stories told to you, and you fully believed, and still do.
Because I was born in a Hindu family, and actually the Brahmin family, which is supposed to be
top of the social
top
class.
clan of the social division of Hinduism. Well, I don't really believe in that system. I think we're all just the same. So because I was in there, the family was more inclined towards worshipping God and religion, and they had to be more respectable and more. They have to just keep the name of their clan up there. They can't. You can't afford to do many mistakes. Otherwise,
what would people think?
Your pride would be hurt. The pride of your family gets hurt and shit. So because of my father's death, my mother became really hard. Like she hardened herself. She didn't have any soft heart anymore because she had to raise 3 kids.
Yeah.
She had to work after going against her neighborhood and society because nobody wanted her to work at that time. Being a woman, like working woman, was a really big taboo.
Scandal.
Really big taboo. They thought if women went out of the house, they only brought shame back.
Yeah.
So everybody went against her.
And this is just in maybe the late 90s, early 2000s.
She got her job in 2000.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, 2000.
So it's very recent actually for them to be having such a backward way of thinking.
Yeah. It took her 3 years after her husband's death to get her brain together because.
So what Sudhir forgot to mention was it was seeing his mother get hardened actually turned him off marriage because. Do you want to touch more on that?
So the way that I grew up and the society that I grew up in, I've only seen arranged marriages happening where the parents decide who you get married to.
Within the caste?
Within the caste, and based on how much they earn, how much money they have. It's like so materialistic.
Absolutely.
How they look and everything. It's nothing based on love.
Yeah, they're against love.
Yeah. And if you are found to, like, you know, if you're caught being in a love affair with someone, they'll just kill you. Your own parents will kill you.
Yeah.
That's the things that I'd seen with. So I didn't know love growing up there.
Yeah.
And I just.
You never wanted to get married.
No, I generated so much hate against marriage because of all that culture that I never wanted to get married. And again,
especially seeing his mother widowed, she wasn't allowed to get married again within that culture.
And that was a horrible
she was alone and
thing
struggling.
to see because I could see the aftermaths of
all you ever saw was the bad
married,
side of marriage. You never saw the good side because you never got to see your parents' marriage.
She got married at a very young age when she wasn't even legally adult.
She was 13.
13 years old.
Her husband was 22.
And by the age of 22, she
was widowed.
Got widowed. So the thing that I saw that the marriage caused was only trauma and just the hardship of the situation.
Absolutely, yeah. So
I never wanted to get married after that.
He even told me that he never wanted to get married despite being in love with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and it was a really funny story that I actually proposed. I proposed him, and then after a few days I said, "Oh fuck, babe, I proposed you." But I always thought like I don't want to get married.
So my parents both became very hardened because of everything they went through, which was a lot: homelessness, abuse, mistrust, betrayal. So they both become very hard in their later lives, and I blamed my parents' lack of marriage because they never married, and they were together just over 1 year after I was born. So I blamed their lack of marrying as the reason why I felt alone and I was damaged. Dad felt alone, he was damaged. Mum felt alone, she was damaged. So I thought if they had married each other and really tried to build that beautiful marriage, then we wouldn't have suffered like we had. So I really hoped to get married.
Because of the situations, we had completely opposite views about marriage.
Yeah.
I never wanted to get married because I had seen the bad sides of it due to a different social background. Jethro saw a completely different situation where the lack of marriage caused the parents to separate.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
And then there was no commitment in there.
Absolutely.
So it taught him. Thought occurred was like the moral of the story from his side was if they would have been married, there wouldn't be that many problems.
No, there wouldn't be. That's why our family would be together if they had married. That's what I felt.
Towards my side, what was happening was if they were never married,
there would never be any suffering. Yeah. So Sudhir grew up in a culture that was very rule-based, very
you're not allowed to have any freedom. I didn't have a phone until I was in Australia. Before coming to Australia, I never had a phone because the elders thought that if you give phones to kids, they watch porn and they start having.
That was the issue I wanted to come on.
They start spending too much time.
That culture is very against
so
love,
preservative, so conservative.
love, and any love outside of marriage,
Any sexual activities
any
as
sexual
well.
activity as well. Yeah.
If you go against,
You're not even allowed to talk about sex. It's very taboo.
yeah,
You're not
you
even
can't
allowed to
talk in the
kiss your
family,
wife or husband in front of your relatives.
in front of your family. Yeah,
Yeah.
different.
So you never grew up really
So
seeing
to me, that like
love.
showing affection
Yeah,
was the definition of vulgarism,
yeah,
and that being the reason that we had to struggle so much when we first got together, because I didn't want to, because I was still in that that background where I
and
should
you were
not,
suffering
yeah.
with your own
Turns out
issues.
it's more like you needed more
You do,
touch.
you need
and
it,
you-
isn't it great?
Yeah.
But we came together. You came to
I
Australia
could do-
alone when you were 17.
Yeah, I was by myself. I was 17. I came in here and I look around. There was nobody else to help.
Totally
like,
different culture as well. Yeah.
Nobody to emotionally support me or anything.
Yeah. No
all
one to
my
even
life
talk
is
to,
just
no
about
friends, no
all my life is just about work,
working,
home,
and
work,
paying
go
for
to
your family's bills
pay
and
and
things.
pay. Don't get to keep that money.
Yeah.
Okay, all you gotta do is you gotta just send it back to pay your debts that they still have because they they didn't.
Because they had
think
an
about
overly
it.
expensive show-off arranged marriage for your sister to
Yeah.
keep the respect for her. Because
Yeah.
they felt like she has to have a very big flashy wedding. And
I
invite
really,
everyone,
I
and
really
then-
wish that culture changes soon, so people do not have to suffer in their
Absolutely.
inside life just to make other people happy with,
Oh, I have a
with the
point
show.
to say on this too. For the first year of our relationship, we had to keep it a secret because Sudhir was terrified that his family would just abandon him, and he didn't want to lose them because they were all that he had.
And plus, it was illegal in
India to be
India
gay.
to be
And
gay.
he didn't want
so-
them to be harassed with the gossips. you know.
Yeah, and because it did happen.
And it did happen, yeah. That's what I was going to get
when
to.
we came out,
Yeah.
like when as a couple,
But I wanted
everybody
to give a point.
everybody socially boycotted them.
Yeah.
So they had their fears, and the fear did come true. But
my-
I don't
my-
think there was anything to be afraid of.
But my issue in the relationship for the first year was we had to keep it a secret, and he was working so much that
Didn't get any time with you at all.
no time with me, and all of his money was going towards his sister's arranged wedding.
So we
And
were not
I-
even
what
making
I-
our lives better.
What I,
with
yeah,
it.
and it really made a struggle on me because I wasn't working at the time, so I was really devoting my time to our relationship, and he was devoting his time to his sister's arranged marriage to pay for that.
Yeah.
So
Because that was, to me, was my part of my deal.
yeah, he felt like he had to do it. That was his obligation, and I had to come
It was my.
after that. And
I
that's-
always felt it was my obligation because before
Promised,
I come
and your
before I
word was
come to
everything.
Australia, I had promised to my mother that if you help me to get in Australia, right, to travel there with a student visa and everything, right, you can pay for those expenses. I'll promise to you that I'll pay that back, and on top of it, as a gratitude, I'll pay for my sister's wedding.
Yeah.
At that
Because all you
time,
wanted was the freedom.
yeah, at that time, that was the most important thing to me, to
Yeah.
be free.
Absolutely.
When I was 16 or 17,
Yeah.
when it started happening.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got here, I realized how big of a promise I had made,
Yeah.
because it wasn't $1,000 or $2,000 or
was
anything.
like
It was something that you
100,000.
can just do.
It was more money than I think I've ever had in my whole life for
Had
one
to-
wedding
Had to.
between two people that didn't even know each other. And what upset me was that we had to keep silent about our relationship for the whole year. All of our money went to them. He gave all of his money from work. And so we pretty much just struggled for our first whole year. And then when we finally came out as a couple after his sister had married, the family thought that it was...
Everybody just started abusing us right after that.
Absolutely.
My childhood friends, or so-called friends and neighbors, started texting me on Facebook and WhatsApp, and started abusing me and telling me how much of a shame I am to their family and to their village. And people stopped talking to my family because they were supporting me, because my family stood up for me. And they organized a meeting with people, they call it Panchayat or something, I think. And some people even said that if somebody keeps a relation to this family, or they want to talk to the family, then they would be discarded as well, they would be boycotted.
Huh. What a crazy culture. But Sudhir comes from a village culture though, so it's not a very...
Not forward, like people